Welcome everyone to a brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. I have with me an artist who I've been wanting to chat to for a very long time. They are a Māori and Swedish multidisciplinary artist who graduated from the Victorian College of the Arts with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Music Theatre. Their past theatre credits include, deep breath, Clyde and Bonnie and Clyde at the Hayes Theatre, Harry and Eve Blake's Fangirls, Demetrius and Laura Murphy's The Lovers, both at the Sydney Opera House, Sir Galahad and Spamalot, Oaken and Disney's Frozen, Misunderstanding and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert for Michael Castle Group, and they're currently playing Romeo in and Juliet. Blake Appelqvist, thank you so much for jumping on.
Hi, Justin. Thanks so much for having me. That was a mouthful.
Thank you. I know. I was going through. I was like, oh my God, I know they've done a lot, but I was like, oh, they've done a lot. Okay.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the first time I saw you perform anything was, I think it was either Brigadoon or as Clyde in Bonnie and Clyde, and the moment I saw you perform, I was like, I need to know who this person is because they're very, very good.
Thank you. I mean, those two were some of my first time performing as a lead in a production, and I just love performing at the Hayes as well. It's such an intimate space, and so much of my favorite musicals get put on there, or niche musicals that no one really seen before on a main stage. So yeah, it's really special.
I really wish that I saw Spamalot there because Spamalot's one of my favorite musicals. I did it in two Amdram different groups, one here and one in the UK. And I would have loved to have seen it there because it would have just been so clever in such a small space.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. And like nothing else that I've done ever before, because it was so much audience participation. And this was just before COVID, because we did our season at the Hayes, and then it went really, really well. And then we were going to do a tour. And then halfway through the tour, COVID started creeping in, and then it all sort of fell apart, as did many other shows. But our season at the Hayes was, it was so amazing. There was audiences on the stage with us as well, and they were all a part of it. So yeah.
That's incredible. So jealous. Well, you're currently performing as Romeo in and Juliet, which we'll talk about because I saw it in Melbourne when I was in Melbourne for Homegrown. I went to see Homegrown down in Melbourne, and while I was there, I was like, I need to see and Juliet. It's one of these things. I didn't think it was going to come to Sydney, which it now is. Thank you, Michael Castle.
Yes.
And I was like, I need to see it now. So I took the chance and I went, and I was just like, amazing. You probably have one of the best entrances in musical theatre that I've seen in a very long time.
I'm going to be honest, Justin. I wholeheartedly agree. And yeah. it's I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't come to the show yet, but I really, really it's so undeserving, but I feel like such a rock star. And I really don't want to spoil it, but if you have come along, that entrance, you can't miss it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we get too far into it, I'd love to talk about you and your career because, like I've said, you've had such an illustrious career so far. So I'd love to know, where did it all start for you? What was the first moment that you, chose the career of the stage?
Well, I mean, I've always loved performing and singing and dancing. I've been doing that since I was a kid. But more so for fun or just because I just really enjoyed it. But I think one of the odd turning points in my life was when I was studying in high school, and I had my heart set on this career that I knew that I wanted to do, and I was doing all the subjects to support that career, and that was to become an architect. And then when I was doing all the right subjects and I was studying really hard, and then I went to do work experience at an architecture firm in Canberra where I grew up. And it was one of the most, no offense to architects out there, but it was a very boring, soul-crushing office job. And I just felt myself getting really itchy with thinking about pouring my heart and soul into something that would be at a desk, or something that I wouldn't feel alive doing, or that I couldn't tangibly feel like I was having an effect on the world. And so after doing that week of work experience, I changed all my subjects to topics and subjects that were maybe I didn't think I would have a career in, but I knew that I loved, or I knew that I was good at, or I knew that it sparked like curiosity and interest in me. And that was like the best decision that I could have made in high school. Because then after that, I auditioned for a whole bunch of tertiary institutions and ended up going to the VCA for 4 years. I did 3 years in the bachelor and 1 year in the foundation course. And it was the right shake-up that I needed after living in Canberra and not really seeing any type of like musical theatre trajectory or career thriving in Canberra. As soon as I left there and went to Melbourne, and I was, you know, in the hub of musical theatre and, you know, getting to work with so many cool people through the VCA and even just from being in that big city. Yeah, it was the catalyst for a lot of hope that I had for a theatre career that I couldn't see in Canberra. And then after graduating, I've done a whole bunch of shows that have been really, really fun and workshops. And it's really, really nice to be able to like build a career here in Australia from growing up in Canberra.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think it would be fascinating because obviously, like, for Australians listening, no, Canberra is quite small.
Yes.
And, you know, there's not a lot there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go to like the big city and yeah, there's so much in Melbourne. I know when I went to Melbourne for the first time, even though I grew up in like around Western Sydney, even I noticed how much theatre there is in Melbourne and how easy and accessible it is. So I can hardly imagine what, the Canberra move would have been like.
Yeah, and to that as well, I remember so many times in high school where we would there'd be like one show a year where all the like drama and music students would get to like catch a bus up to see whatever was playing in Sydney at like the Capitol Theatre or something, or like the Lyric. And I remember that was like such a highlight for me and for so many of my other like my mates or the other students that were going to see the shows. But yeah, a really, really good eye-opening, oh, I can actually have a career here. Oh, it's possible. Yeah. There's other people doing it. Yeah, that power of like getting to actually see or tangibly feel a career or a future is so important. So I'm really grateful to have had those kinds of experiences growing up.
Yeah, that's so good. That's awesome. Well, I love hearing where like a lot of actors and performers come from. So that's great insight. Thank you for that. I'd love to jump onto our 1 minute theatre thoughts now, if you'd like to have a go. Did you want to have a look at the questions first to kind of get an idea? Or are you happy to just go off the top of your head?
Let's just go off the top of my head. I mean,
heck yeah.
Who knows? We might stumble upon some gold. We might fumble, but yeah, hey, I'm here for it.
We'll get through it together. It's okay. Okay, cool. So it would just be kind of like a bunch of different questions to do with theatre, and then any that I like, I'll jump back onto, and we'll kind of deconstruct them a little bit.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, here we go. First question is, what has been your favourite production you've seen recently?
Ooh, favourite production I've seen recently. In terms of musicals or in terms of any kind of like live performance?
It could be any type of live performance, yeah.
Okay. This is to do with like it being recent. I saw one of my very close personal friends, Sarah Murr, at Darlinghurst Theatre Company, I think like a week ago or a few weeks ago, performing at Thirsty Thursdays. And that was outrageous and so much fun, and she's one of my like closest friends, but also just like a rock solid performer, and it's always just a pleasure to get to watch her be in her element and tell stories the way that she does. And yeah, she was the best. And that was just like, yeah, I cried so many times.
Oh, amazing.
But it's yeah, she's just one of those performers where you have to be in the audience and really like be there live and present with her to get all the glory.
Excellent. Great answer. Great answer. No one's actually done like a special event one before. They've always chosen like a big production. So that's a first.
Oh, sure. Cool.
Name a show that left you speechless. Or that has left you speechless, I should say.
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. This is a odd one, but I think when I saw Newsies on Broadway,
Okay.
I was speechless at interval, and I couldn't stand up. I couldn't move. It was just very affirming and very cool to see so many, you know, AMAB dancers really in their element and just thriving. And seeing a musical that I don't know if it has come to Australia or if it will come anytime soon, but it just felt like such a dream and such a like a bucket list audience moment. There are so many musicals like that where some people have like dream roles where they want to like play them and perform these roles, but there's only so many like that you get to watch as well or like be around for. Like I know how jealous I've been of anyone who's seen The Color Purple with Cynthia Erivo. And, for me that was the closest thing to not being able to move after a performance or just needing to really like sit and be present with what I just witnessed. But yeah, Newsies, Broadway.
Newsies, great choice, great choice. Well, speaking of dream roles, is there or what is the dream role you'd love to tackle?
I would like to tackle Orpheus in Hadestown.
Yes! Oh my god! Of course.
I got to see the Broadway production twice when I was just in New York like a few months ago, and it's one of those shows where it's so unique, it's so different. It really tells a story to multi generations. The music is so unique and unlike any other musicals that I have seen or have heard of, and I'm a sucker for romantic and for any type of tragic love.
It kills me every single time I get to the end of that soundtrack, and you just you don't even need to see it. You just hear it in the music, and my heart just goes, oh no,
yes,
yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be a dream role. Otherwise, maybe Gaby in On the Town.
Okay.
Or even just like any new musicals. Like some of the musicals that have been written are great and have like a wonderful American sensibility, but it would be nice to get to do more homegrown work and new works. That would be my dream. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to know, what is your pre-show ritual, or do you have one?
It depends on the role, but I think usually I like to listen to music that's not related to the show, but kind of like reminds me of the sort of essence of the character that I'm going to be playing. So for a lot of and Juliet and Fangirls, I listen to like a lot of pop and a lot of like, music that has like a really fat beat and that can sort of get me in the mood for the sort of character that I'm going to be portraying. But then for like, for Bonnie and Clyde, there's certain music that I really like to listen to that's lyricless, like a lot of strings, a lot of guitar, that sort of base me in the setting of the world.
Yeah.
Definitely music is like a big one for me. And also like make like a little tea or having a little snack. It sort of changes, and I'm open to it always changing, but the music is usually something that doesn't change.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, the last question, and I think I can guess what your answer is, but I'm going to ask it, is which production would you most want to see come to Australia?
Well, I mean, I don't want to give it away.
Oh, no, don't give it away.
No, I mean, I really, really would love Hadestown to come here. But with that being said, I would love a full-scale touring production of The Color Purple.
Yes. Yeah.
As much as I love Hadestown, I really like The Color Purple. Is just it's a phenomenal piece, and it means so much to so many people, and it's just, I'm so jealous of people who have gotten to see it. And it's a bit like some other productions where they only come once every so often.
Yeah, right.
yeah, I really, really want to see that production here. And I hope that there's someone thinking about that or putting that in the pipeline, because, yeah.
Well, maybe because the film's coming out now, isn't it? I think it actually comes out
Yes.
this month.
Yeah.
So you never know. They might do a touring production because it would jump off the back of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't
So
wait to see that. I'll be there with bells on.
yeah, exactly. It's very good. We got a lot of good ones coming up. So
Yeah.
good time for musical theatre people. Well, those are great answers. Thank you so much for them. I'd love
Thank
to
you.
jump into one. You talked about the dream roles you'd love to tackle, and you said something about originating roles. Now, you've
Yeah.
had the chance to do that in productions like The Lovers, where you played Demetrius, and
Yes.
that was a brilliant production. I will have Laura Murphy on the podcast. We had a chat, and the schedule is it's in there, and Laura was awesome to talk to about her music and her writing. I'm a massive fan of hers. I saw the Hayes Theatre's 2024 release and heard the snippet of Zombies, which I'm so excited to see after listening
Yes.
to it, and
Me
especially
too.
because the cast that's just been announced for it is incredible already,
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
just like, this is going to blow the roof off of Sydney.
Yeah, she really does like cook magic every single time. And like I've known Laura for years. She was doing Grease at Her Majesty's Theatre when I used to work behind the bar.
Yeah, no
And
way, right?
she's like old friends of a couple of my other friends who used to live out in like northern Sydney, and they all did musical theatre together, like amateur musical theatre, as kids. So yeah, I've always been obsessed with her, and same. I'm the biggest Laura Murphy fan.
Yeah, it's a good train to be on. But what was it like performing The Lovers? Because that was backed by Bell Shakespeare. It was their first musical, the
Mm.
adaptation of Midsummer Night's Dream, told from the perspective of the lovers. And I mean, I loved the production. When I saw it, I was like, this is a perfect way to get, musical theatre people and Shakespeare people and get them to meet
Yeah.
right in the middle. And what was it like performing that as a new piece of work?
It was heaps, like so much from because we did workshops of this show years before we did the Sydney season, and it was cool, like getting to almost feel like an American, like a normal American doing a workshop and then doing an out of town tryout and then doing the production. It felt very like that, because we did a workshop of it 2 years before we did the Sydney season, where it was just a sing through of Act One, and Laura was very like, "Oh, does this need to be in this key? Could this be a little bit, different? Should we change a lyric here?" It felt very like organic and like she was still in the creation phase. And then a few months later, we did another sing through of the whole score, where we had a few invited guests, and we really, really felt the weight and the responsibility of something so good in our hands and in the room. And I'm so glad that that translated to our Sydney Opera House season with
Mm,
a phenomenal cast, crew, and creative team. Everyone on that show is just the best of their best, like
mm.
top of the field. And yeah, really, really cool to get to originate something. And it was really interesting the kinds of audiences that we had, because it was a hot mix, as you said, like
Yeah.
blending multiple different sort of demographics. We had a lot of like uh, people who like love and adore Shakespeare, not necessarily like purists, but
Mm.
people who just like know the material really, really well, and they know that language very thoroughly, but not necessarily like pop music. And then you
Yeah.
have like some people who came in wanting to like listen to all the hear the seats rumbling in the theater and feel the pulse of the beat and the funny lyrics and everything that was all on the music side, and then had never read Shakespeare before, or maybe like studied a little bit at school, but that's a foreign language to some people. And so it was
Mm.
interesting having that blend and that mix of all ages coming to come like see our show. And I think that's a really smart way to diversify your audience and to have the sort of conversations on the car ride home about, oh, I kind of liked this music. Maybe I'll start listening to this, or oh, I kind of
Yeah.
like this poetry. Maybe I'll start, reading some Shakespeare,
Yeah.
or reading something that you don't usually read.
And
Um,
I always say Midsummer is like the I always say Midsummer is like the gateway drug of Shakespeare because
yeah,
the mechanicals are so easy and they're funny and it's that fast and then the lovers element come into it. Oberon's like the very much the most Shakespearean I suppose, but even the lovers are easy to understand and so once you get that you go, oh, I get Shakespeare. So then you go to the next one, and
yeah.
it kind of goes from there.
Yeah, and that like that Shakespeare and that pop music, they translate so well together with both being very heightened and very pure and very like true, which you wouldn't normally think would go hand in hand, but like as and Juliet has also sort of been a great
Oh,
example
well,
of
let's
it
talk
really
about that
does.
because that is genius idea. Because when I first heard about and Juliet, I was like, I didn't know much about it.